Alright, so it goes without saying for many of you that I'm not a big fan of Call of Duty World War II or Black Ops 4. And because of that, I'm only doing one part for each of these games. Also, Cold War is coming out, and I just really want to focus on the new Call of Duty. So COD World War II and Black Ops 4 are getting their own videos, singular videos, and that's it. So, starting with Call of Duty World War II, how do I feel about this game? This was Call of Duty's return to boots on ground and classic warfare. We got a taste of it in Modern Warfare Remastered, but now we're moving on to the big leagues, a full AAA boots on ground Call of Duty game. See, at first I was annoyed because of Battlefield's recent dabble into historical combat. I wasn't interested really at all when it came to a World War II Call of Duty in terms of theme. But over time, the idea of a boots on ground Call of Duty game featuring some of my favorite weapons of all time, like the BAR, M1 Carbine, M1 Garand, Thompsons. I was really excited to play with like an MP40 again, and so I was like, you know what, I can get excited for this, and I look forward to covering it. I knew it was going to be limited by its time period. This is what happens when you make an historical shooter. Even if you want to get a little crazy with cosmetics and themes, the overall game is not going to be as interesting as like a modern day or near future game in terms of the equipment and things people are going to have on offer. There are certain things that I just took for granted up until COD World War II. Stuff like trophy systems or heartbeat sensors. I like that kind of stuff. It adds interesting dynamics, and you miss out on that variety when the shooter becomes historical. When it's World War I, World War II, Vietnam, you're just going to have less stuff to go off of, which makes total sense, and I'm glad that they didn't get too crazy with COD World War II as a game. I think aesthetically, the game lost a lot of its World War II vibe. People running around in like Grim Reaper outfits and shit. Like, I thought it was a little silly. But overall, the World War II theme was there in terms of equipment and things you could actually play with. It did feel like a World War II game. But if we're talking about the overall feel and design and attention to detail, it seemed like it was lacking. It seemed like in Advanced Warfare we didn't really care about this, but when Sledgehammer decided they were going to go off of something that's based in history, I think a lot more people got a little critical about the way guns looked and felt, and the way recoil was handled, and the way reload animations looked. People got a little bit more anal about that, and I think that's totally warranted. This is something that's based in reality. So when a sci-fi game feels a little weird, it's like, yeah, it's not real anyway. Not only is it a video game, it's a video game about an entirely fictional universe. This is not a fictional universe. I honestly would love to see the current Infinity Ward team make a World War II shooter, just because the amount of detail they poured into Modern Warfare was so great. I would love to see that because this game feels very arcadey, very stiff. I don't think there's one unique above and beyond detail in COD World War II that I can think of. And if there is one, again, I can't think of it. It never really stood out to me as a detailed, authentic game. Now, graphically, I think this game is very good looking. It's very boring in terms of the fact that, yes, it's just trying to mimic reality, and some of the filters they put on these maps, color-wise, is a little disappointing, in my opinion, but I don't honestly mind. This game was the first Call of Duty to show up on Xbox One X with the enhancements, and it felt like a next-gen experience loading into a 60 FPS game that was in dynamic 4K and had HDR enabled. It really was a sight to behold. Unfortunately, the maps never really allowed you to appreciate the graphics that often. There was nothing interactable or dynamic. There was barely any wind blowing on these maps. These maps feel incredibly static. When you play the campaign, there's lots of little details that you sort of take for granted when you're playing, that they're just not here in the multiplayer. Despite this game being pretty graphically impressive, it's really disappointing to look at. So again, graphical quality, color quality, that stuff's all good. It just doesn't look good, doesn't look cool. I don't want to sound overly picky, but it's just hard for me to look at this game and not think that it looks a little dull. This is true for some maps and not others, but I feel like the game would have benefited greatly from just having awesome little details and dynamic events, something that we saw in Advanced Warfare and Ghosts and really hasn't returned, and it would have been really cool, because this game is inherently limited by its time period to do more practical things, like have heavy rain effects or snow effects, wind on certain maps that kicks up some dirt and whatever. Yeah, it's kind of tacky and we've seen it before, but something would have been better than this. Now when it comes to gunplay, I'm actually a little bit surprised, coming back into COD World War II, how good the gunplay felt. I remembered it being kind of abysmal in a lot of ways. And yeah, it is a little abysmal. It doesn't work as well as I'd like it to. Again, it has this level of stiffness, and you really can't customize much about your controls as much as I would like. And so, I don't know. This gunplay would get a 5 out of 10 for me. It's serviceable, it's not below average, but it's just not above average either. There's nothing about COD World War II's gunplay that makes me want to sit down and play it. It doesn't have a visceral punch, doesn't have a cool sci-fi fictional flavor. It's very, very plain. And when it comes to hit detection and actually landing your shots, it just doesn't really seem that consistent. I don't want to say it's inconsistent, but it's not very consistent. And some weapons feel drastically, disproportionately more consistent than others, and I really can't shake how much that annoys me. Some guns in this game just have awkward rates of fire, and people will just sort of strafe in and out of your bullets at times. And I do get a fair amount of shoot first, die first moments in this game, but I don't know, I really had trouble judging the gunplay of every one of these CODs from the 8th gen because I'm not actually putting in time. It takes me about like 2 play sessions to be really at peak comfortability with a COD game, even if I've played it a lot before. My phone just went off. But even if I played it a lot before, if I haven't played COD World War II in like a year and then I hop on and try to play it, my gun skill is just not going to be up to snuff. My overall subjective opinion on the look, feel, and gunplay of COD World War II is that it's mediocre, it's fine, it doesn't really bother me, it doesn't really offend me, but it doesn't do anything to wow me or excite me. Then you move on to what makes a Call of Duty game a Call of Duty game. The creative class, the kill streaks, the maps. How do I feel about them? So the maps, pretty much, in my opinion, all of the default maps are pretty bad. The only 3 I like playing in a rotation is Sainte Marie du Mont, Pointe du Hoc, and Gustave Cannon, because they are drastically different. Not good, I'm not saying those are good maps or that I believe in their quality, I just like how different they play. And I have this opinion because when COD World War II came out, I was so tired of Infinite Warfare, Black Ops 3, Advanced Warfare's cramped exo boost thruster bullshit movement, and I was really excited to play some boots on ground classic style COD. And Sainte Marie du Mont, Pointe du Hoc, and Gustave Cannon really give me that new feeling. Like each one of those maps plays drastically different than the one next to it. When it comes to maps I hate, I really don't like Flak Tower, and when it comes to maps that I tolerate because of their pretty good design, it's Docks, I think it's what it's called, and it's the one that's by a dock. I think it's called Docks, I don't know, I don't care. These maps are boring to me, but the ones I just mentioned are the ones that stand out to me as kind of interesting. Now when it comes to creative class, I think creative class is the biggest ball drop in this game. There is no reason we shouldn't have had a Pick 10 or a return of the Pick 13 system, an improvement of Call of Duty Ghost system, something. But instead we have one of the most cookie-cutter creative classes I have ever seen. Very disappointed in this. The basic training and division system I think is just a giant fucking flop. It doesn't hurt the game when you're playing it, I guess, but the game would have been better with Pick 10, Infinite Warfare's Pick 10, which didn't really have wild cards, it just sort of automatically factored in the point value. Call of Duty Ghost system, which I have praised during this little mini-series, anything would have been better than this. Anything. I don't know why we didn't get like Pick 13 or anything like that. We got this weird system that's sort of like classic COD, but isn't. And then when they reworked the game, they just gave everybody the ability to have a shit ton of lethals and tacticals. Pisses me off to no end. I hate how many lethals and tacticals you have access to in this game. Obviously you have to build your kit for it, but I don't know, even without building your kit for it, you can just concussion people around every corner, and it made the game a little suckier in my opinion. So no, guaranteed lethals and tacticals, poor customization, and also the attachments in this game, the whole system of like customizing your weapon in this game wasn't satisfying. There was no cool appearance changes to the guns most of the time. There was just, it was plain. It was rudimentary when it didn't need to be. I feel like they were trying to go for like classic COD vibes, but that's unnecessary. When you're making a game like this, just, you know, innovate in some interesting way, because this is also what killed this game for me. These score streaks, I'm actually going to give a big thumbs up. I don't mind the score streaks in this game. I never really went for many of the higher ones because I didn't play the game that often, but I don't mind them. I think they're kind of fun. They're fairly easy to earn without being too easy, and they're miles better. The whole score streak system in this game is miles better than what we're getting in Cold War, so I really can't complain. The problem with COD World War II, the thing that really hurts it, is that even after they reworked this system, I still hate the loot system in COD World War II. I hate it. I just hate the contracts, I hate how many guns there are. Really, the theme of these 8th gen retrospectives is that this was the era of Activision thinking that more is better. Less is more is the way to go here. There is so much to grind for in this game. Right on the heels of Modern Warfare Remastered and Infinite Warfare, I had no patience to grind. And then when I took a break from COD WW2 to go level up 200 times in Rainbow Six Siege, I came back and they added a shit ton of weapons. There is an entire FPS game's worth of weapons in this game that I do not have access to. Some of which my subscribers were telling me are pretty fucking overpowered, or at least really damn good. But throughout all these retrospectives, these rantrospectives, these look backs on Call of Duty's 8th generation, the big thing that stands out to me is that Activision really, really fucking wanted you to grind the shit out of these games. There are, again, entire FPS games worth of weapons from Advanced Warfare up through Black Ops 4 that I just don't have access to. Modern Warfare did this the best. And Infinite Warfare, yeah, Infinite Warfare did it pretty good. MWR did it pretty good. COD WW2 did it better later in its life cycle. I'm not saying they ruined the game, and some people really love the grind. I totally respect that. But for me personally, I despise this. I despise how much content I have to gamble for, grind for, collect parts of a collection for. And there's, again, an entire arsenal of stuff here that I just don't have. I like the idea that when I go play a Call of Duty game and I get to max level or I prestige a couple times, I can go in and log on and the entire product is there. Now, of course, season passes are a thing. And everything up until Modern Warfare this generation had a season pass. So even when Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3, Modern Warfare Remastered, Infinite Warfare, and COD WW2, and then Black Ops 4, when they were asking for your money, when they wanted you to grind, when they wanted you to open reserves and supply drops and crates, they also wanted you to buy a season pass. So there is mountains of content I just don't have in my favorite shooter franchise. That's a problem. That is a stain on these games in terms of longevity, because people are going to log back onto these games years from now, and they're gonna see stuff they have to grind for, and it's gonna be a lot harder when these games just have dead player bases. Again, these do not feel like complete products. They feel very free-to-play-ish when it comes to how they're handling the content, and good lord, I would kill to see these games just revamp all of their progression systems to be like traditional Call of Duty plus a battle pass with 2 guns per season, because Modern Warfare nailed that. And then a 3rd gun that has a challenge for direct unlock. So you have weapon contract and 2 battle pass guns. It's super easy to get through. You have double tier progression weekends sometimes. It just is so good now in MW that looking back on these games, it's a joke. COD WW2 as a product isn't bad, but these are multiplayer retrospectives. COD WW2's multiplayer brings nothing to the table that I enjoy, and in fact, makes a lot of mistakes. From super annoying quickscopers, to bouncing betties everywhere, to getting concussion spammed when you try to play an objective, this game makes all the wrong moves, and for a game that really wanted to return to the boots-on-ground form, they really didn't learn much from previous boots-on-ground Call of Duty games and what pissed people off about them. This game will always have a fan base, and I can see why. There is a little bit of a beauty to its simplicity, a little bit of a beauty to its classicness, but if I'm going to play a boots-on-ground COD that has sort of weird maps and, again, more classic style, 7th generation gameplay, I'm going right to Modern Warfare every single time. Call of Duty World War II gets a 4.5 out of 10, just a little bit below average, but not enough to really whine about, any more than I already have. See you when I see you guys, goodbye.